Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. I'm so glad that you can make it here with me tonight. We are going to finish up measurement that we started last week. Last week we got through most of our continuous measurements. Today we're going to start off with our derivative measurements, and then we're going to talk about our discontinuous measurements, when to use them, how to use them, all of that jazz, everything that you need. Well, hope you guys are having a great night. How you guys doing? How we doing? Couple things going on, or not a whole lot going on new, but we've had Beat the Beast 3 out for a little over a week now. I figured I would give an update on the data since we didn't have a ton of data last week. I didn't calculate the average score today, but I did a day or two ago. I think we had about 25 submissions at that time, and the average was 66.5%. So definitely turning out to be a little bit more difficult than our other Beat the Beast mocks, which usually hover around a 70 to 72% scores. But again, we'll continue to take data and see how things go. We've been getting some really great feedback on Beat the Beast 3 so far, even though it is a little bit more difficult. A lot of people are liking the lengthier questions that really make them think and pull out details from a larger block of text. In general, I would say the questions on Beat the Beast 3 are a little bit longer than some of the other Beat the Beast mocks. So glad you guys have been enjoying them. And again, doesn't really matter about your score as long as you use it as a learning tool to understand why you're getting things wrong, learn some concepts along the way with the feedback, then you are absolutely doing it right. One more thing on the Beat the Beast 3 is that we did have one individual scoring 80% on their first attempt. So that person has got to be feeling really confident about passing on their next one. So congratulations to that person. Preemptively, they're going to be a BCBA. I can almost guarantee it. So I do know the test is not impossible, even though it is very difficult. So for me, it was a little validating to see that, okay, yeah, this isn't too hard, but it is possible. But yeah, so if you haven't given Beat the Beast 3 a go, you should definitely check it out on understandingbehavior.shop. We'll probably give away a few copies of Beat the Beast 3 tonight and maybe some other juicy stuff. We'll see what our attendance looks like, and if you guys are hitting that like button, that thumbs up on this video, that certainly helps us do some more giveaways and do so with even shorter of which measurement? What we were talking about measurement. We talked about continuous measurements last time. So what is the measurement for the time that I actually do a giveaway from when we start these live streams? What measurement would we use for that? What do you guys think? I was starting you off with a pop question here. What do you guys think? Well, which measurement would we use there? Awesome. You guys are on it. Yes, Nicole, Kelsey, Carly, Amani. Good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So yeah, best answer there would be latency. So it would be the start of an event, would be the start of a stream to the time where the behavior actually occurs. So if we get lots of likes on the video, we'll have an even shorter latency giveaway, which means that you'll have an even better chance of winning. So make sure you're hitting that like button to get that going. Awesome. Well, like I said, we're going to start off with our derivative measurements, and then we're going to get into discontinuous measurements. Should be a fun one. I'm so glad that you're here. Let's go ahead and do it. You guys ready? Who's pumped? It's been so crazy. I feel like this week especially, we've had so many students passing. Lots of students that are consistently showing up at these streams. So very excited to see that. We've had Emily Sturfka pass. She has a understanding behavior tattoo actually. So it was really exciting to see her pass and that the course paid off for her. So if you're trying to pass soon, you're in the right place. And yeah, let's get down to it. So we're talking about derivative measurements next. Derivative measurements are essentially measurements that are derived from other measurements. So kind of makes sense. Derivative, derived, right in the word here. Our main two derivative measurements that we're going to look at in behavior analysis are trials to criterion and percent of occurrence. There are other ones that we can do as well, including acceleration is another one that you might see around, but I don't think they're going to actually test you on acceleration on the exam. But acceleration is essentially like how quickly or how quickly something is either ascending or descending. Heck yeah. So let's first talk about percent of occurrence. I think this is the most important one out of our derivative measurements. Percent of occurrence is essentially calculated by taking the number of times a behavior occurred divided by the number of opportunities for the behavior. So we're going to use this for any situation where the opportunity for a behavior is highly relevant to the behavior. So let's just go through a couple examples of that to kind of like understand this concept. One example of that is accuracy. So to calculate accuracy, you would take the number of questions that you answered correctly divided by the number of questions given. And this is really important, and it shows that this opportunity for the behavior is highly relevant. Because let's say that I tell you, like, I got 175 questions right on the BCBA exam. And you'll be like, damn, Nick, that's like all the questions. But then I tell you, like, I took the exam 4 times. And it's like, wait, that's like not that impressive anymore. So like 175 out of 175, super impressive. 175 out of 700, not quite as impressive. So that means that this opportunity for the behavior is highly relevant to the actual behavior that we're looking at. So that's what, just a quick example of what we mean, like when this opportunity is highly relevant. Let's look at like throwing darts. There's a couple different ways that we can do this even within the same example. After this, I'm gonna have you guys try to come up with your own examples. So maybe start thinking about those right now to have those prepared, and I'll give you some feedback on those. So here's one example. If you could look at the number of bullseyes that you get divided by number of darts that you throw. So every time you throw a dart is an opportunity to get a bullseye. For me, this percentage is very low and probably not worth reporting on. So instead of this one, I'm going to actually use a different measurement for my behavior because I don't want to just show a 0. So my measurement I would use is probably number of darts that hit the board divided by number of darts thrown. So like I'm not gonna get a bullseye. I'm not good at darts. So for me, like this measurement's gonna be a lot more relevant. It's like if I can hit the board, I'm gonna feel great about it. So that would be the one that I would use rather than using the bullseye one. But look at these examples. Both of these have that opportunity for the behavior is highly relevant to the actual behavior that we're looking at. So every time that the opportunity occurs, this behavior can occur, and we can get a percentage of what that actually looks like. All right, I'm going to throw it back on you guys now. Let's get some cool examples, original examples of percent of occurrence. So think about a behavior where like the opportunity for the behavior is highly relevant to the actual behavior. All right, looks like Alyssa is locked and loaded with one. She's got number of obstacles completed in a Spartan race divided by number of obstacles I completed versus number of obstacles altogether. Cool. Yeah, so I like that. So number of obstacles completed divided by number of obstacles that there are. That's great. So you'd be like, yeah, I got 9 out of 10. That's a 90% completion. Cool. We got Vernell's got the number of shots made in basketball versus the number of shots taken. That's a great one. You get like even like that stat is recorded for pros. Like they have that shooting percentage. Good. That's a nice one. We've got Barbara. She has an example of number of words correctly typed divided by number of total words typed. Cool. Yeah, I think that would work if you want to get like if you're tracking typing accuracy. That's great. We've got Kira has number goals hit in soccer divided by number of times trying, so like number of shots on goal. Yeah, that's great. So again, kind of like a shooting percentage on that one. Very cool. What else you guys got? These original examples are the best way to cement these concepts, so don't be shy. Let's see what you got here. Carly's got completion passes in football. Okay, so what would we have to divide for that one, Carly? Okay, yeah, so number of passes thrown divided by number of completed. So is it number completed? Or do we want to do thrown divided by completed, or completed divided by thrown for that one? What do you think, Carly? Samira's got number of voids in toilet divided by trips to the potty. So like every time you go to the potty, there's a opportunity to void. Yeah, I think that's good. Looks great. Yeah, there you go, Carly. So you want to do completed divided by thrown for that. So the thrown is the opportunity for the behavior. Completing it is the behavior of interest. Good. All right, we've got another one. Number of times swallowed food divided by number of bites. So yeah, if they're like spitting up consistently, and we want to look at what percentage are actually swallowing when they take a bite, that could be useful. Shinobu has attendance of class. What would we divide for that one, Shinobu? These are great. Keep them going. Yeah, Nicole, I think that Nicole, that one's pretty similar to our accuracy example over here. That looks good though. Oh, here's another one we could do. We could do number of likes on the video divided by how many views that we have here. So right now we've got 44 divided by 144 views on this stream so far. So, I mean, that's about like, I don't know, maybe 30 some percent. Let's see, 44 divided by 144, 31 almost. That's pretty low. I think we could do better. All right. Yeah, Lisa, I like that one for voiding. That looks good. So let's think about, we had a couple responders put in manding. So like number of independent mans divided by opportunities. So like what is an opportunity to mand? And would we want to use percent of occurrence for manding, or should we use something else? What do you guys think? So like what is an opportunity for manding? What like evokes a mand? We're like crossing over into verbal behavior here. We're always here to connect our concepts together. So for tracking manding, what is an opportunity for it? So people are saying like mans are usually evoked by an MO. So would we want to use percent of occurrence for that one? Tien says we should use rate. Why do you think that, Tien? Nicole says rate. Who's got a rationale here? So I do think frequency or rate would be better. Who wants to be really cool and provide a rationale for that? So let's think about that. The MO here, is this a clear opportunity for the behavior? Like, what is that MO? Yeah, good, Nicole. I really like where you're going there. Cool points for Nicole here. Yeah, so the reason we would not want to use percent of occurrence for manding most of the time is that the opportunity is not very clear for the behavior. It's the presence of an MO. So usually like if we have like the item out, then like that could potentially be an MO, but that's not the only time we want to see them manned. So we want them to man like when the item's not present as well. So usually frequency or rate is going to be a little bit better for that. We a couple people were saying like if we were doing independent manding, so like independent versus prompted mans, that might be okay, but again, like you would have to do that under like you would have to really clearly like specify what that MO is, and it just might be kind of weird. Like I don't think the data are going to be as good as just getting like frequency or rate on those. So for manding, frequency or rate is going to be better than percent of occurrence because we don't really have a clear opportunity for that behavior. Good. Nice job on that one, crew. Let's see what we had. We had a couple more examples here. Yeah, so Shinobu had attendance, so like days of class divided by attendance. So I think that one we would actually have to flip around. So like the number of days that you attend divided by the days of class. So that would get you your percentage because each day of class is the opportunity to attend. Cool. These are looking really great, guys. I love when you guys are coming up with original examples, and it's a really, really helpful tool to really nail these concepts down. So always make original examples whenever possible. Good. All right. Well, we just broke the 50 like counter on our video. So I think it might be a good time for a giveaway. How about we do a mock giveaway right now? So if you win this, giveaway, you can choose any of the Beat the Beast mocks, or you can choose the Fluency package if you'd like. So we'll actually do, why don't we do 2 winners for this one? We'll spice it up a little bit. So the 2 closest numbers will win a mock exam or the Fluency package. Let me get my screen all set up here. All right, so if you want to participate, all you have to do is put in a number between 1 and 500. We'll give away the 2 closest numbers. You can take your choice of any of the Beat the Beast mocks or the Fluency questions. All right, let's put those numbers. 2 closest, 1 to 500. Here we go. One guess per person. Multiple guesses will be disqualified. All right, dang, you guys are hyped for this one. Those numbers are coming in fast. Pays to be here early. All right, we'll give you maybe 10 more seconds on this one. Also, if you are not signed up to our email list on understandingbehavior.shop, you can do so. Just click this link here. We'll send you the links to our free mini mocks and give you coupons, and we'll get you on our email list so you can get up to date and everything cool that's happening on Understanding Behavior. And you can even get Nick's study tips of the week that come out on Mondays. Yay! Hey, Aiden. Good to see you here. Hope BCBA life is treating you well. Thanks for showing up. All right, we're going to do this giveaway. We're going to make Jenny Mahoney our last guess. All right, we've got 409. 409. Who we got here? We got 2 winners for this one. Help me out here, chat. We've got Julie at 399. That's pretty close. 409. Oh, we had 2 399s. Oh, we had Nori at 411. Okay, Nori's definitely going to win one. 411. That is really close. So we have Nori as 1 winner. Who's the second closest? 409. Oh man, why did I do this? It's so much more complicated. We had several 399s. Yeah, people were asking about the promo we had earlier. If you bought the Beast Slayer course between June 26th and July 7th, you got the mock for free, but not everybody got the mock for free. All right, so we had Nori as a winner. Help me out here. Who's our second winner? Got distracted here. 409. We had Nori at 411. Was it 399 as the next closest? Okay, we had a few 399s. So we had Julie. Who else was 399? We had Julie. Shaynaz. And then I think there was one more 399, right? All right, Julie and Shaynaz, we're going to re-roll for you guys. Oh, Gianna had 399 too. Okay. Gianna, Julie, and Shaynaz are going to do a re-roll. 1 to 500. Let's get it. Julie, Gianna, Shaynaz, put in one more number. 1 to 500. We're doing a roll-off. Good luck. All right, let's roll it. Here we go. 145. All right, we're giving it to Julie. Congratulations. All right, so our two winners for this one are Nori and Julie. Congratulations. Yeah, just send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial.gmail.com and let me know which prize you would like, and we'll hook you up. Congratulations. Again, you can get any of the Beat the Beast mocks or the fluency questions. So just let me know which one you want, and we'll hook you up after stream. Sweet. All right. Congratulations to our winners on that. We've got a question here to break things up. We've got, let's check it out. We've got, you want to take data on a client's free operant tacting behavior. Of the following, which would be the most appropriate measurement to use in this situation? What do you guys think? Let's see some answers. Let's see some rationales. Hopefully you remember all of our utility from last week. All right, we've got a lot of answers, not a whole lot of rationales yet. If you want to really learn this, let's see it. A lot of people talk about like that with like clear beginning and end for count. I really don't think that's a useful way to look at any measurement for a behavior. Like if you define a behavior, it's gonna have a clear beginning and end, like no matter what. So I tend to not like that at all for rationales for measurement procedures. Cool, Lisa. I like where you're going through rationale. I like to see these rationales coming through. Cool, Carly. I like the rule out strategy. Yeah, Stephanie, I like where you're going. Good detail. Cool, Nicole. I like that a lot better. Yes, Julie, great point there. Julie Whittier. Yeah, Gianna, right on track. These are looking good, crew. Nice job. Yeah, Victor looks great. Valerie looks great. Okay, I like where we're going here, crew. Nice job. Best answer is going to be A. We're going to use count. So main thing that gets us to this answer is that we're looking at free operant tacting behavior. So tacting behavior is going to be a short behavior. It's going to be like each instance is about the same period of time. So like saying a vocalization like attacked is like water, like it takes 1 second or so. So these time-based measurements aren't going to be as relevant. We're not looking at the latency like in response to a signal. We're not looking at the time between these either, not super relevant. So that brings us down to count and percentage. We're not going to use percentage here because there's not going to be a clear opportunity because it's a free operant tacting rather than a restricted operant tacting. So restricted operant tacting would be like our impure tacting. Like, what is this? It's a coffee cup. So that has a clear opportunity. If that were the case, percentage would probably be our best answer. But since we're looking at this in the free operant tacting, count is going to be a way better answer for this one. So main things you wanted to point out here is that it's a short behavior, lasts about the same amount of time, and we're not concerned about the opportunity of the behavior, which brings count to our best answer. Awesome job. Great job if you got any of those points in your rationale. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about trials to criterion now. So trials to criterion is essentially looking at how many sessions or how many trials it takes to meet a certain criteria. This is usually going to be some kind of mastery criteria. What this tells us is the speed of acquisition of skills or meeting goals. So if we have a lower amount of trials to criterion, does that mean it's going to be a faster skill acquisition or slower skill acquisition? So if we have a small amount of trials to criterion, is that faster acquisition or slower acquisition? What do you guys think? Good. Looking great in chat, crew. Nice job. Yeah, Barbara, love the backup there. Good. So this is always going to be faster. So if we have a smaller amount of trials to criterion, that means that they completed it or met that goal in a smaller period of time, which means that they acquire skills faster. We can use this for a few different ways or a few different reasons. We can use it to like compare like different methods of teaching. So if you're not sure if like, hey, if this method of teaching is better or this method of teaching is better for the individual or for a particular skill, you can like do a little experiment where it's like, maybe we teach 3 targets with this method and 3 targets with this other method. Then we can compare the trials to criterion to each other, which one was faster, and then we stick with the better one. So that's a cool utility for this one. Here's just like a quick example of that. So you can master skill faster with X procedure or Y procedure. So maybe it's like the prompting strategy that you're using. So maybe it's like prompt delay procedure versus a least to most physical prompting procedure, and kind of like weigh those out against each other with our data. You can also use this to compare the what skills take longer. So people are going to learn different skills at different rates. Like some things are going to be more difficult or take longer to acquire than other skills. So if we can see like, hey, which skills like take more or fewer trials to criterion. If it usually takes more trials to criterion, then maybe we switch things up with that procedure. So maybe we like analyze it like, hey, are we teaching this most effectively? Are we using stronger reinforcers for this one because it like that might be warranted since it's just a little bit more difficult in general. So you can use these data to kind of inform some treatment decisions in that way. We can also look at this chart here. This was pulled from a research article. I really should have the citation here, but my bad. But essentially, like they were looking at the total trials to criterion for 2 different conditions here for 4 different individuals. So we had a 30-minute schedule and a 120-minute schedule, and we can see that in general, Jason was had a lot more trials to criterion than his peers here. And we saw that with the 30-minute schedule versus the 120-minute schedule, that it actually, the 120-minute schedule slowed Scott down quite a bit, where Steve and Andrew were pretty unaffected there. So kind of interesting here, they were measuring trials to criterion for these 4 individuals, and then they did this like A-B reversal with the 30-minute schedule and 120-minute schedules. So neat stuff, neat stuff. All right. We can do a little practice with this. So we have a data set here, and I want you to look at what is the trials to criterion. So here is our goal. We have Johnny will imitate the model for 90% or more of opportunities for 3 consecutive sessions. So count out how many sessions did it take for Johnny to meet this goal, and let's see that answer in chat. Again, trials to criterion can either be number of sessions or it can be number of trials. So in this case, we're doing number of sessions, but if we knew like, hey, each of these sessions had 10 trials, then we could calculate the trials to criterion as well. So whatever is going to be simple, whatever is going to be more useful. In this one, like we have the daily data, so let's just stick with the daily. We don't need to convert it into trials right now. Now, if it was different where it's like one day we did like 10 trials and one day we did like 100 trials, then we'd probably want the trial data. But again, it's all going to be relevant to how you're running things. Cool. I'm liking where these answers so far, looking really good. Nice, you guys are trials to criterion pros here. Love to see it. All right, the answer here is going to be 13. So let's count these out. We needed 90% for 3 or more consecutive sessions. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No 90s yet. 1, 2, 3, we get a 90, but then we ruin our streak, so it kind of resets to 0. And then we have 90, 100, 100, so this gets us to 13 total to meet that goal. Awesome, looks great. You guys crushed that one. All right, that's all for our derivative measurements. Let's recap again, continuous and discontinuous measurements, then we'll talk about our discontinuous measurements. So we did all of our continuous measurements last week. Remember, continuous measurements collect all of our relevant data. They always require constant observation, and they provide a more complete data set. For our discontinuous measurements, these are going to estimate data through interval recording. So not collect everything, we're just taking this interval data. The main purpose for discontinuous measurements is that it eases the job for our trained data collector. So it's going to make things a lot easier. Usually, like, the data collector is also an implementer, so like they have a lot of things going on, and we want to make their job easy. So that's going to be preferred when they're doing a lot of other things. We also talked about how they create measurement artifacts. This is essentially a misrepresentation of the data due to how it's recorded. We'll talk about the measurement artifacts when we get into each measurement procedure. Let's talk about features that relate to all of our discontinuous measurements. So for all of our discontinuous measurements, we're going to split up our sessions into equal intervals. The only exception for that is momentary time sampling, where sometimes we can have more random intervals. But for partial and whole interval recording, it always needs to be equal intervals. So like each interval would be 10 seconds, or each interval would be 1 minute, or each interval would be 5 minutes. As far as setting that interval duration, there's not really a clear rule behind it, but one thing that you should consider with it is that if you have shorter intervals, it's going to be more intense for the data collector, but it's also going to align a little bit more closely with your continuous measurement data. So kind of keep that in mind, where if it's a really short interval, it might actually be really difficult to take these data if we had like a 5 or 10 second interval, for example. But with longer intervals, it's going to be easier, but our data lose some accuracy. So it's a spectrum. There's not always a clear way to define it, but kind of just weigh out like, hey, is the data useful and is our data collector capable? For each of our intervals, we're going to either mark an occurrence or a non-occurrence. Usually this is depicted by either a plus or a minus. We don't need to get too crazy. So there's not going to be a number per interval. It's either just going to be plus or minus. Did it occur? Did it not occur? Again, the amount of the behavior in each interval is not going to be relevant. We just mark it plus or minus for each interval. All right, our data are also reported as percent of occurrence. I'm gonna test you guys here. How would we calculate the percent of occurrence for our discontinuous measurements? What do we divide? Let's see that in chat. Again, the question is, what are we going to divide to get our percent of occurrence for discontinuous measurements? We're here to connect those concepts. Let's get it down. Ooh, Jameson, maybe a little more specific there. Kira, I like where you're going. Nicole, I need a little bit more info there. Ooh, Danielle, I like where you're going. Yeah, so what are the things that we need to divide? Your answer should be a blank divided by blank. Okay, Christine, on the right track. Look, could use a little more specific. All right. Annie Levi, I like where you're going. Yeah, Kayla, I like where you're going. Remember, these are not correct or incorrect. These are occurrence or non-occurrence. So, like, I mean, if we're doing, like, partial interval for, like, hitting, like, the hit is not a correct response. It's just, we mark it as an occurrence. So keep that in mind as well. Awesome. I like these answers coming out, looking really good here. So correct answer here is that we're going to take the number of intervals occurred divided by the number of intervals observed. So a lot of people are getting a little lazy here. They just said like opportunities, but what is that opportunity? So the opportunity is every interval that's observed. A lot of people actually, I didn't see as many on this one, which is great, but some people get this wrong. They say like number occurred divided by number of non-occurred. That would not be correct, because that doesn't give us our total. It only does like the non-occurrences there. So didn't see many of that, which was really good. Keep it focused on the total number of opportunities, and each interval occurring is an opportunity for the behavior to occur. Cool. Looks good. Let's talk about partial interval recording first. Partial interval recording, you can think about this as any time. So in this one, we're going to mark an occurrence if the behavior occurs at any point of the interval. I'm actually gonna block that real quick. Hopefully you didn't keep an eye on it. But if we're going to mark an occurrence if the behavior occurs at any point of the interval, is this going to overestimate our behavior, or is this going to underestimate our behavior? And the really cool people are going to provide a rationale for that. Maybe even explain it through an example would be a really great way to rationalize this one. So again, we're looking at this for partial interval recording. Does it tend to overestimate or underestimate behavior? More importantly, why? I want a little bit more than just what we have here for this. Okay, Danielle's kind of on the right track here. Okay, Mariah, I like where you're going. Ooh, Victor, doesn't that mean under? Ooh, Philomena has my favorite rationale so far. Check hers out if you're a little confused. Okay, okay, there's some decent ones here. Ooh, Danielle, we're going to talk about why that rule is not useful, actually. All right, extra cool points out for Philomena here. Had a wonderful rationale. Good. Nicole, I really like your example, too. That looks great. Yeah, Shinobu, that's a good example as well. I like that. Yeah, Elena, really nice as well. Yeah, well deserved cool point there, Philomena. All right, let's talk about this. So it does tend to overestimate our behavior. And the reason for this is, let's say we have an interval. Let's say this is 2 minutes. And we have the behavior occurs for like 10 seconds of that interval. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark this as a plus. And what this plus means is that essentially like the behavior occurred for the entire 2-minute period. So when we're looking at interval recording, intervals are units of time. So we always need to look at these in reference to duration. Now I saw a couple answers here where they're like, hey, if it occurred like 10 times and we only mark it as one interval, then that would actually underestimate it, right? And that's incorrect. Absolutely not. Some people hold on to that rule where it like overestimates duration but underestimates frequency. Throw that rule in the garbage. It is completely not useful. The reason why is because intervals, once again, are units of time. Intervals are not instances of behavior. So whenever you look at an interval, you need to think about it as unit of time. So in this one, like we might have had 10 instances of behavior occurring, but this is really like 25% of the interval. But if we looked at the duration of in total here, so this would still be an overestimation of our behavior because we need to look at it as a unit of time, where it's like the behavior might have occurred for 30 seconds, but we mark it as 2 minutes of the behavior occurring. So it does not underestimate frequency. The rule is that it's actually incomparable to frequency. We cannot compare these two at all because one's a unit of time, one is instances of behavior, and they're just not comparable. They're not like measurements that we can weigh against each other. So always overestimates behavior for partial interval recording. Do not think about underestimating frequency. The two are just not comparable. So hopefully that's helpful. So again, throw that rule in the garbage where if you like overestimates duration, underestimates frequency, totally not useful. Throw it in the garbage. All right, as far as our utility for our partial interval recording, it does require constant observation, and because you need to look at the individual most of the time. If our interval is longer and they like engage in behavior right at the beginning of the interval, it's like, okay, like we don't have to worry about it for like the rest of the interval. But for like most part, you do need to constantly observe with partial interval recording. You can use this for pretty much any problem behavior because it's going to show this measurement artifact that it's going to show like more behaviors occurring than what's actually occurring. So if the behavior is actually decreasing, then our measurement's going to be really sensitive to that. It's going to show like if it is decreasing, like our data are going to show that like, hey, yeah, it's way down here. You can also use it for skill acquisition behavior that's low rate. So if a behavior is not really occurring often, let's say we're looking at like hand raising in class and like kid like never raises his hand, does it like once a day, then if we actually increase that behavior, partial interval is going to track that and actually capture whether it's increasing or not. So like if he does it like 5 times like across the day versus like 1 time in baseline, like a partial interval recording is going to show that. So it does validly capture these lower rate skill acquisition behaviors. So those are the main utilities for partial interval recording. Pretty straightforward. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a data set. And what I want you to do is we have 3 different observations here. We have 10 intervals of data collected. And what I want you to do is for all 3 of these observations to give me how many intervals are we going to mark as an occurrence. So try to group all of your answers into one message here. But we're going to do all 3 of these. How many intervals are we going to mark as an occurrence for each one? Yeah, Nicole's asking about a question where it's like partial interval recording for social interactions. Again, that would be valid if the social interactions are not occurring very often. So again, if they are increasing, partial interval recording would capture those increases, which makes it a valid measurement. So again, what we're doing right now, try to get all 3 of your answers into one message here. We're looking at all 3 of these. How many intervals are we going to record as an occurrence for partial interval recording for these 3 these 3 observations? We've got 10 intervals for each one. Nothing, not trying to trick you here. We're doing all partial interval right now. I like where our answers are going so far. Barbara's on track. Lena's on track. Trisha's on track. Amy's on track. Good. Yeah, Keisha's on track. Shinobu's on track. Liking it. Awesome. These are looking great. Let's go through these one by one. Our first one is going to be 5. So we've got our first interval we'll mark as a plus, second, third, our 6, and then our 9th interval. And there's no behavior occurring in the others, so we get a total of 5. Second observation, we've got 9. So we've got a little bit of behavior occurring in every single interval, except we've got 1 minus here. So that's going to bring us to 9. And then our last observation, we've got 10 or 100%. So a little bit of behavior occurring within every interval, even if just the slightest bit is going to make that a plus. And it doesn't matter if it's just a little bit or a lot of bit. All of these are going to be marked as a plus. Good. Nice job here, crew. Let's talk about whole interval recording now. So whole interval recording, we're marking an occurrence if the behavior occurs for the entire interval. Knowing this, does this tend to overestimate or underestimate behavior? More importantly, why? And if you want to support that with an example, that is highly encouraged. All right, Vernell on the right track. Not bad, not bad. I like the bravery and quickness. Barbara on the right track. Okay, yeah, Kelsey, I like that. Good example. Julie on the right track. Ooh, yeah, Sydney, I like that a lot. Yeah, Cynthia on the right track. Good. These are looking great, crew. Good. Yeah, Annie, Carly, Nicole looks good. Ooh, yeah, Carly, I really like your specific example there. Yeah, Shinobu as well. Good example. These are great, crew. I love to see this wall of rationales. It's like my favorite thing to see on stream. It's like even more important than the like counter is like a wall of rationales. That's what gets me going. Hell yeah. These are looking great, crew. Yeah, Hallie, right on track. Looks good. Yeah, Rashonda. Hikarzina, that looks really good. All right, really nice job on this one, crew. So this does tend to underestimate our behavior. And remember, we're doing interval recording, so it's going to underestimate duration of behavior since intervals are units of time. And we can think about that. So like if we had an interval, let's say again, it's 2 minutes, and we have behavior occur for like 95% of the interval. It's like, wow, this occurred for like 1 minute 55 seconds, but we're marking it as a minus, which is essentially means 0 seconds. So grossly underestimates it when we have behavior occurring for most of the interval, but not the entire interval. And when it does occur for the entire interval, then it's exactly estimating it. So if we have a 2 minute interval, it occurs for 2 minutes, then it's just like exactly estimating it, or it's like, yep, this was 2 minutes, and we mark it as a plus, which means 2 minutes. Sweet. That's okay, Jennifer. If you're bad at rationales, it just takes some practice. It gets easier as you keep providing them, and it is the #1 most important skill to learn and get better at this exam. All right, let's talk about utility for whole interval recording. Once again, this does require constant observation, because if they're like if they're engaging in it the whole time, but like not that last couple seconds, like you need to have been observing that whole time to know whether or not the behavior was occurring for that whole time. For whole interval recording, we're going to use it for skill acquisition behavior, but only skill acquisition behavior that we want to occur continuously. So this is not going to be short duration skill acquisition behavior. I think somebody mentioned earlier, like we would not use this for hand raising, because like I don't want my kid to be like hand raising for like many seconds or minutes at a time. It's not great. So like some examples for this might be behavior, or might be like on task behavior, or like active participation. If we wanted to like staying in your chair, it's like borderline of behavior or not, but staying in your chair could be something that we measure with whole interval recording. And things like that, things that we want to occur continuously. So not just any skill acquisition behavior, it's specifically ones that we want to be occurring for long periods of time. Good. All right. We're going to look at our observations once more, and now we're going to do whole interval recording for all 3 of our observations. Let's see some answers in chat. Maintaining personal space, borderline not a behavior. Like dead men are really good at maintaining their personal space, but maybe. Let's see those answers. We got 3 different observations. Once again, whole interval recording. Let's do it. Yeah, for the maintaining personal space one, I think I would rather use partial interval recording for violating personal space. I think that would be a better way to track it. I feel like that situation would make a fun mock question, though. Write that one down, Crystal. All right, answers are looking really great here. Digging it, digging it. Awesome, you the best, Crystal. All right, let's check this out. Our first observation, we have a fat 0. So we need behavior occurring for the whole entire interval, but this was like a shorter duration behavior. Did not occur at any of the intervals for the entire time. For our second one, we've got 5 here. Let's mark this one out. So we've got first interval, not our second. We've got our third, fourth, 6, and then our 8th interval. So 5 where it occurred the whole time, but the ones that were close here, not quite. Our last one, we have 4, so we can mark these off. We got this one. This one was really close, not quite though. This one, and this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 40%. Looks good. No, Julie, go back and watch what we talked about. All right, let's go over momentary time sampling. For momentary time sampling, we're going to mark an occurrence if the behavior is occurring at the end of the interval. So this does not tend, or it can either over or underestimate behavior. It usually does one way or the other. But doesn't tend to go in one way and consistently. As far as the utility for momentary time sampling, this is a really great one because it frees up a lot of time for your data collector. So this is the only one where they don't have to constantly observe. They can just do like these little check-ins every once in a while, see if the behavior is occurring. If so, plus. If not, minus. The only limitation to momentary time sampling is that we cannot use it with short duration behavior. So if we have a short duration behavior, let's go back to like our punching example, and we have like a 2-minute interval. So like punching is only going to occur for like 1 second. So let's say like this was our data where it's like this kid just like punched somebody 8 times in 2 minutes. But since these are so short, like each punch was only like 1 second long, it was just very unlikely to be captured by this measurement procedure. So short duration behaviors are not likely to be captured by momentary time sampling. It's going to grossly underestimate our behavior. So we're just not going to use it. It's not going to capture it very well. So don't use it with short duration behavior. We need to have moderate to longer duration behavior for momentary time sampling. No limitations with skill acquisition or problem behavior for this one. It can be either, doesn't really matter. And I see a lot of people like neglect momentary time sampling where they're like, it's always going to underestimate it or it's going to like miss some. And that's fine because like if we're doing these check-ins at like every moment. So if it's occurring for like 30% of the session, on average, it's going to count about 30%. And like that's okay if like it doesn't capture every single one, because like it's gonna capture the average pretty nicely with these check-ins every once in a while. All right, we got some chat firing up a little bit here. London's asking, I never understood why momentary is necessary as it relates to behavior at the end of the interval. So again, all of our discontinuous measurements are estimations of behavior. So if we have longer duration behaviors, then these are like more likely to end up at the end of the interval. And again, we would still count these as like units of time. So let's say like we had data that kind of looked like this. Sorry, these blocks are like really uneven, but it doesn't really matter. Let's say we had data that looked like this, where it's like, okay, behavior's occurring about maybe 40% of this time. And our data here would be, we'd have plus, plus, minus, minus. So like the actual is about 40% of the duration, and then we estimate about 50. So like that's fine, totally cool. So the end moment, again, is just an estimation, and it can be valid, especially when we have like these medium to longer term duration behaviors. Yeah, Stephanie says she's using it for group participation in her clinic. Great. So Alberto, you're correct. Partial overestimates, whole underestimates. We do relate it to duration. So we don't relate it to frequency, but we do relate it to duration because intervals are units of time. PB is problem behavior, just shorthand. Cool. I like where we're going. Yeah, Lisa's asking, is momentary time sampling good if there's multiple behaviors that are occurring? So yeah, really any of our discontinuous measurements are good for that because it's going to simplify our data collection a lot more easily. So I would say any of our discontinuous measurements, not just momentary time sampling for that. It makes it a lot easier to record. Cool. All right, we're going to do our data practice for momentary time sampling now. Again, we've got our 3 different observations. Tell me how many intervals are we going to estimate for this one for each observation? You guys have been awesome tonight. We're almost done with this presentation. I think I've got like maybe 1 or 2 questions after this, and then we'll wrap up. But 76 likes in the video with 95 people here. That's a pretty good ratio. I think we'll do 1 more giveaway before we wrap up for the evening. Thanks so much for all of your participation. Hopefully there were some light bulbs here tonight. Right, a little all over the place with these answers, but fairly on track. Yeah, Kayla, good example there. So like sitting would be fine for momentary time sampling. All right, let's go ahead and review these. Okay, for momentary time sampling, for our first observation, we've got a 0. Yeah, sorry, sometimes this one is a little difficult to see, but remember, this was our short duration behavior, so like each one of these is just like a little dot here. This one is not on the line. None of these are on our line, so this is a big fat 0. None of these are occurring at the end of our interval. For observation 2, our answer is 8. So we can count these out. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have minus for our last 2 intervals here. So longer duration behavior, more likely to get captured. Short duration behavior, very unlikely to get captured by momentary time sampling. Last one, we've got 9. We can count these out. We've got 1, 2, not this one, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Good job here, crew. So we had 9 intervals where it's occurring at the very end of that interval. What I want you to note here as well is that I did not design the data set intentionally in this way, but if you look, our whole interval recordings, these are our lowest numbers, all of them. Our partial interval recording, these are our highest numbers, all of them. And for our momentary time sampling, these are somewhere in the middle. So those measurement artifacts came to life with our data set. This was not designed specifically to do this. This is kind of just the nature of our procedure. Nice, Jennifer, you're going to do great. You just passed the Beat the Beast 2. Go crush it Monday. Yeah, Amy, if it's a longer duration behavior, you could use it for partial, whole, or you could use it for whole and momentary. You would not want to use longer duration behavior for partial. It kind of depends. If it's a problem behavior, that's fine. But if it's a skill acquisition longer behavior, you would not use partial interval recording. Alrighty, let's go ahead. We've got a question here. During a supervision meeting, Jan asked her supervisor what types of measurement procedures can be used for hand raising during the school day. Jan suggested they use a whole interval recording procedure. As the supervisor, which would be the best feedback to provide? What do you guys think? This question, the rationales are kind of built in if you answer it correctly. Cool, yeah. Nicole, I like where you're going, though. Yeah, Ariel, too. Good. Yeah, Courtney, on it. Good, Morgan. I don't know if this is an easy one or if I just drilled this point really nicely tonight. Good. Nice job, Amy. Alrighty. Nice work on this one. Our best answer is going to be C. So whole interval recording, not great for hand raising. Hand raising is going to be a shorter duration behavior, not a longer duration behavior for skill acquisition. A is cool, so like skill acquisition is usually good for whole interval recording. So like this is not the right reason. It would show us if it's or actually it would not show us if it's increasing throughout the day because it's probably not going to occur for an entire interval. But C is a better answer. And then D is incorrect because we usually do use it for skill acquisition behavior. Good. Nice job here, crew. Thank you so much for coming tonight and for all of your amazing participation. If you haven't checked out our Behavior Beast Slayer course, I highly recommend that you do so. You can get a free trial of the course if you go to the link that I'm about to put in chat. All you need to do is to go to that link, and then you can scroll down to our free section. Yeah, here it is, our free section. Click on these, and you can try out several of our videos and quizzes absolutely for free. The course is really awesome because it has active responding built into it. It's me instructing the whole entire course. So you get to hang out with me for like 16 hours and learn behavior analysis in a very thorough way. And that will teach you to connect concepts, get comfortable, know exactly what you need to focus on in exam questions for particular topics, and really nail this exam. So check out the B-Slayer course if you're looking for to just crush this thing for good and really become a master and comfortable with behavior analysis. With that, we're going to do one more giveaway to wrap up the evening. We'll do another mock giveaway. So, whoever wins this one, we'll actually give you a choice of products. So if you want to pick the mini mocks here as well, that is an option. So you can pick any of our Beat the Beast mocks, the Fluency package, or our mini mocks for mastery for this giveaway. We'll do another random number 1 to 500, and you can go ahead and put those numbers in now. If you buy the course, it doesn't include a mock exam, but throughout the course, there are over 65 different quizzes throughout that will teach you like fine discriminations for each topic. So mock exams are separate. We also, if you're thinking about the course, but you're like, hey, I want some mocks too, we have the complete beast mode bundle, which comes with $614 of products for $475. This comes with all of our mocks, all of our mini mocks, all of our Fluency package, and our B-Slayer course for a discounted price. And you can use the code UBNerd on top of that to get 15% off on top of this deal. So it ends up being like over $600 of products for about $400. So if you want to take your studying super seriously, this is the bundle to go for. The mini mocks, they're kind of like BDS, but they're split up by section, and there are toughest questions in the mini mock package. The course is going to be a little bit more like refined with our quizzes. You can actually go to if you're like curious what is in the B-Slayer course. If you scroll down again at this link that I'll throw in chat right now, you can see the full contents of the course. So every quiz, every video, everything is broken down into really small sections. The videos are really consumable. They're about like 5 to 20 minutes on average. I think a couple are maybe like 25, but not too many. And again, best way to learn behavior analysis out there. And I'm really confident in saying that. Yeah, not as aversive as BDS. That is for sure, Cab. I would say the mini mocks are a little bit more difficult on average. All right, one winner for this one. We're going to pick our number. For whoever wins gets their choice of product of any of our mocks or mini mock packages. Our number is 451. All right, help me out in chat. Oh, I see Shelly Wicklund, 457. That's pretty close. 451. Okay, we got 442. Okay, that's not quite as close. 457 is looking like... Oh, wait. 444. 457. Oh, my gosh. Marcy was one off. Wait, Mike has 451. Where's Mike's? I miss his. Does somebody get it on the dot? I'm not seeing Mike at 451. Tell me where it's at, like top, bottom, or middle. At the bottom? Help me out. I'm trying to find this here. Mike at the bottom? I don't see Mike's answer. Am I blind? Was it after I called it? Yeah. Sorry, Mike. No. I think Marcy was our last guest here. Sorry, Mike. We're not playing that game. Don't try to scam me. It's not gonna work. Oh no. Did I mess up my stream? I don't know if I messed up my stream or not. I think I'm still streaming. All right. I think it was Shelly was our winner at 457. All right. Cool. Shelly, 457. We're going to give it to Shelly. Amazing. Congratulations. Send me an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com and we'll hook you up with whichever product you like. So you get your choice again. Any of the Beat the Beast mocks, our mini mocks, or our fluency package. Congratulations. All right. Well, that is going to be all for tonight. Thank you guys so much for coming and for all of your participation. I really appreciate you guys. It was a wonderful stream. Hopefully you enjoyed the measurement geeking out. We'll be back next week. I forget what the topic is, but it's going to be something cool. Make sure you're there. We'll have more giveaways lined up, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Shoot me an email if you won tonight. Congrats to our winners, and we'll get you hooked up with your products. If you're looking for that really good study material, definitely check out the Beast Slayer course. We've got our complete Beast Mode bundle. Or if you're just looking for mock exams, the Super Ultimate Mock Bundle is a great option as well. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you're testing soon, good luck. We've had a lot of people passing recently, and I hope that you're next. And if you're not, we're here to support you until you get there, as long as you're putting in the effort. All right. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you at the next one on Thursday. Peace out.